know exactly they come across it. It's a hard time dealing with the same groups our job we come across. It's hard time out. Just keep going and but I want to give you a level of something.
Well, I mean, it worked out great with that because we get some friction in the sun. Sustainability Council wants to yeah.
So
it's an event that we have annually, and it's important to use it to get awareness and engagement on items of sustainability. And we had Rachel back and Randy, and we had awards presented. Yeah, no, how about that? We'll see if he comes to tonight. Yeah, we'll just have to see.
yeah, I was going to say this one.
How's it going with you? That's the adventure. But you get such a bigger haircut. That's great. Oh yeah. You have to keep that mindset.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Oh, sorry. So let me try that again, right? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the School Building Committee meeting. My name is Tom Golden, City Manager of the City of Lowell, October 19th, 6 p.m. I'd like to take a roll call.
Manager Golden.
Here.
Mike Vaughn. Connie Murray. Joe Boyd. Richard Underwood. Here. Michael Fiato. Connor Baldwin.
Here.
Mark Byrne. James Hall. Sakauri Chow. David Peasley. Here. William Samaras. Edward Kennedy. John Leahy. Rodney Elliott.
Here.
Mary Ann Manzi.
Here.
Jay Mason.
Here.
Maria Sheehy.
Here.
Benjamin Opara.
Here.
Erica Harvey.
Here.
John Haley. And Edward Kennedy.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. We're good.
Excellent. If everybody has an opportunity to take a look at the minutes from the September 15th meeting, I'll accept a motion to change or accept. Mr. Peasley? Second. Senator Kennedy? All in favor? Any opposed? Sir.
I had a comment.
Oh, comment.
I'd just like to ask.
Do a seconding, I apologize.
Yeah, I know. It's a little confusing. I would just like to request in the future the notes included questions but not answers to the questions. And if we could be a little more diligent with piercing down to that level of detail, it's important. These proceedings are important. It'd be great to have all the material in the notes.
Point well taken. Everyone accept that? Any questions? Any concerns? I'm so moved. We'll accept the minutes. Thank you very much. Next item up. I'd love to from Suffolk and representing Suffolk.
Mr. Manager?
Yes.
Before we go to that, we have a video presentation.
Oh, video presentation. Okay.
So I'm going to, bear with me. I'm going to try to get it. LTC has produced a video of the walkthrough of the gymnasium. This was a request by the committee previously, and so we're going to show that to you right now.
Welcome. My name is Tom Golden, City Manager here in the City of Lowell. I want to welcome every Lowellian and people throughout Massachusetts to see Phase 1 at the Lowell High School. There's a lot of excitement going on here in the City of Lowell, and we want you to have the opportunity to see it firsthand. I want to thank LTC for doing this. This is going to be a great opportunity for the residents of Lowell and the people throughout the Commonwealth to see how first-class construction is completed.
Welcome, my name is Jim Dowd. I'm a program director with Skanska USA Building. We are the owner's project manager, and with me is Rex Radloff, project executive with Suffolk Construction, the construction manager for the Lowell High School project. And welcome to the Lowell High School new John Abraham Jr. gymnasium. This gymnasium has one main court, which is the wood court. It is also surrounded with a rubber flooring for track, and also cross court. You can hold 4 full court basketball games or 4 full volleyball games also at one time.
Now, we started here about 2 years ago, as everyone is aware. It started with the takedown of the existing building, and then we were able to build out through that first winter, get the structure up, get the slabs poured, and really close in the space. For the better part of the last 6 months, we were able to work through finishes, again, like Jim was pointing out, getting the floor in, getting the track in, the equipment up above, and then also the spaces down below, locker rooms, the kitchen itself, and athletic director's office, trainer's office, or trainer space, weight room, etc.
Hello, we are currently in the gymnasium multi-purpose room on the first floor. We're in one half of it. It does break into 2 rooms. It's currently being used as a temporary media center library for phase 2 of the project that we are in right now. For phase 3, this will become the band room, with the other side of the partition being the chorus room, and then eventually will become a gymnasium multi-purpose room, mostly utilized as a wrestling room.
Now, as far as construction of the space, this area took us about 6 months to build. Some of the features you'll see here is a folding partition, the isolated ceiling above us, and then followed up with a tectum ceiling. That allows for sound to be not to transfer down from the gym to this floor, so a nice barrier there. Also, the flooring itself is resilient flooring. That will be replaced with athletic flooring once turned over in its final stage. Another part of the project is we're providing all new cleaning equipment for the custodial staff.
A brand new kitchen just came online for the start of this school year. At the end of the next phase, the cafeteria will follow with a new seating and servery area.
So currently we're within the strength and fitness room. We have resilient athletic flooring down below that allows to protect against the gym equipment and the weights. We also have tectum cloud ceilings up above. And then as far as a light source coming in, we have a pretty large storefront that was installed. that will be overlooking the courtyard, and then shades as well. So where we're at is the middle of phase 2, starting with the takedown of the old field house. As everyone can see, while we were building the existing or the new gym, we were right up against the old field house. But now that we're taking it down, this will be cleared out in the next couple weeks. Afterwards, we'll begin our foundations for the new freshman academy.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Oops. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Baldwin, for taking care of that technical prowess that you possess. Much appreciated. I want to thank also, we have school committee woman Connie Martin, obviously is here, and obviously City Councilor Eric Gitche. I want to say thank you very much for attending as well. At this time, Rex Radloff from Suffolk is going to go through a number of items, meaning Phase 1, Phase 2, and right into the MBE, WBE discussion. Rex?
Perfect, thank you. And thank you everyone for having us back. So I'm going to hit on Phase 1 just briefly, then move right into Phase 2 and talk about the work we've done there, and then just project forward all the way through December and even into January. For Phase 1, everyone saw the video. I think it looks great in there. I know the schools, I want to thank the school feels so as well. And right now, our main focus is really just on the back end of the building, near the loading dock. We're prepping for the concrete pad, which should be poured in the next week. And then afterwards, we're moving into final paving, which we're scheduled for the 29th of this month. And that should really wrap up some of the major activities that we're working on. We're also looking to install fall plantings. That should happen next week. That will be shrubs, trees out front, and then along the side near the Masonic Temple. And then lastly, we're working towards punch list activities. Right now, we're down to a couple hundred punch list items, which, to put it in perspective, is quite I don't want to call it an improvement, but quite a bit of progress compared to the couple thousand that we start with. So that's been a working session with Perkins Eastman to have closed out. We're also working through our final sets of training with the staff to understand the capabilities or to maintain the space itself, and then finally commissioning as we move into the winter months. And then, as everyone saw from the video, the bleachers itself, the bleachers are substantially complete from this past week, and we can't really thank the school enough working alongside them for the last 6 weeks to coordinate their efforts alongside our efforts. That's with if it's gym practice or the athletics after school or even into the weekends. And we're happy to see that the bleachers are finally installed. And so that's where we're at with Phase 1. As far as Phase 2 goes, this past month has been the continuation of the takedown of the field house and then the back end of D building. For the most part, it's been just removing of debris for the past month, and we're about 95% complete. For the next couple weeks, we'll continue on those efforts, and then we'll also mobilize Jay Dorenzo in the next week or so to continue to start their pre-excavation activities. That's when they remove obstructions from the subsurface to allow for that wrap operation to continue, or at least to commence smoothly. As far as the wraps go, or what I'm calling ground improvements here, that they're scheduled to mobilize. That's helical next month. Alongside also our concrete contractor is also scheduled to mobilize the middle of next month. So you'll see foundations taking place. Foundations will continue on for the next 6 to 8 weeks. throughout November, throughout December, and even into January. Steel will have a soft mobilization towards the end of December, and then everyone will start to see columns go up during the very early days of January. And just to share some photos here, this was taken actually a couple hours ago of the site and where it is looking at right now. As everyone see, the field house is gone and loaded out, and right now the holes that you see is where the old pool used to be. And so we have about a couple more days, or I'll call it a week, to remove the final foundation elements here, and then we'll start with our ground improvements. Now, where I have my mouse here, our ground improvements will start on the east side of the site and then work west along Father Morset, and also our foundations as well. Steel will actually take a separate course working east, or working west to east. It's just based on the sequence and how it worked together. That was the most advantageous way on how we want to start the construction of Phase 2. Other photos I have here is actually the removal of the South Bridge itself. That took place this past Saturday, and this was a very lengthy effort. It started the beginning of June of this year with the abatement and removal of the bridge itself from the inside, and then the structure. We were able to finally coordinate alongside with National Parks to be able to conduct this pick. And then this is the south end of the bridge. This will be scheduled to be taken out next week. And then lastly, another photo of the space as the bridge which we removed is gone now. So that's where we're at with construction activities.
Any questions from the committee members thus far?
Thanks, Rex. That's really, really interesting. Is there any surprises in the soils? I know that's often the most, mysterious part of the construction process.
Yeah. Very good question. There are not any surprises within the soils. However, that's a topic which we're very well equipped to handle as we come across. It's something we usually come across on past projects and even on this project for Phase 1. Something that Joe and I were even discussing, having a meeting with the trades sometime next week to just further understand the protocol if we do ever come across anything that may need to be addressed. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Sorry about that. Any other questions? Excellent, Rex. Thank you. Next, the MBE, WBE workforce participation comparison.
Yep. And I apologize, there's a typo in this slide. These numbers were taken from this past Monday. I made a note that there was from August 11th, so I'll update that. However, our numbers, as far as the number of workers and number of hours, they continue to climb. 344 workers, minority workforce, and 45,000 hours. For a female workforce, 55 workers and 6,600 hours. And then Lowell residents, 78 workers, 19,500 hours. So these numbers climbed. However, the percentages remained roughly the same from last month. I equate that to just because it's not so much we have a lull in construction, but the workforce drastically fell off from what we were running about a month ago, even 2 months ago, when we had 120 workers on site. Now we have about 20 to 30 workers on site. So you see the numbers kind of go up, but it's not as much of an impact on a percent basis. We expect to have more of an impact on a percent basis as we continue on with construction itself. Well, as more trades hit the job, that is. And with that, I'll turn it over to Perkins Eastman to give a design update.
Joe, Robin?
Good evening. So Lowell High School is targeting a LEED Gold in their version 4 checklist. LEED credits look at both design elements and construction. So last time we met, there were some questions on how we were tracking, and I thought I'd give you some updates of things as they related to the construction activities as opposed to the plans. Next. Oh, you already went to that slide. Great. All right. So each month, we get a report from Suffolk that talks about the construction waste that gets diverted from a true landfill to recyclable content. And at the moment, they're about average of 89% of all waste. So that number does adjust a little bit based on what's coming out of the building, but that is their average to date. And we receive it now and will continue throughout the whole project. This project contains a number of, wide variety of materials. We look at what's available as recyclable and what contains recycled material in it. One of our highest recycled content material is our steel members. And so we just got the numbers for our phase 2 steel, and depending on the shape and size of the members, it's between 87 and 95% recycled. So just like we just pulled steel out of the building, we could see that, in essence, that steel will appear in someone else's school project, which is fantastic. Keep that cycle continuing. Another thing about materials that through our design specifications and then working with Suffolk on what the trades and what they actually bring is we look at the ingredients of the materials that come in. We want to know not just on the outside what it is, but in insides, like in food, we look at the ingredients. And we do that by receiving EPDs, environmental product declarations, and this dives into the content of the materials. As a lead credit, we have to ask to get at least 20 of these documents, which can be quite lengthy. Through Suffolk and their subs, we've received over 100, and this is fantastic. It gives you kind of the transparency of what's being brought into the building, and that's what our goals are. In addition to these EPDs documents, we're also asking for them to, when possible, to have a third-party verification. Again, it's another level of transparency, and over 70 products that we received to date have this third level of transparency. We don't have a minimum that we're looking for, but we work with Suffolk to get as many as possible as a way to grow the industry on being aware of what goes into the building and what impacts people in the future. Next. Throughout the project, we look at the construction air quality. So within the construction area, we want to make sure that there's sensitivity to the workers and then the life afterwards. And one way we do that is to look at the ductwork. When it comes in, Suffolk wraps it in plastic. That way, there's less to clean at the end of the project if we keep it out in the first place. And so we're monitoring this throughout the project to make sure materials come in protected and stay clean. But we know that dust is formed, and so Suffolk just wrapped up what we call a flush out at the end of phase 1. So they run, mechanical systems at a high level, get the air flushed out. Once that effort is done, they go through and swap out all the filters, so the school is given a space that has some great clean air. Also thinking about the site is we worry about erosion. It rains, we're disturbing the area, and so one means that Suffolk is doing that is straw bales. So all construction areas have a perimeter of straw to keep the erosion on site, keeps water out of the storm drains, and certainly out of the canal. And these are things that were done in phase 1, they're occurring in phase 2 and will continue throughout these. So those are some examples of how we're meeting our goals for LEED through construction.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Robin. Is there any questions? Any questions at all in regards? Senator Kennedy.
If I could, just going back to the percentages of female workers and minority workers.
Yes.
Is there a phase, there were several more phases left, right, in the construction project. So are there phases where you anticipate that those numbers will go up? And do you think that's really going to happen, given what you've seen so far?
We remain optimistic, and I know that's not really a strategy. What I will say is we have a D&I consultant that is very well versed in the construction industry. So that's step one, as opposed to having somebody or having a consultant that is looking to promote a D&I workforce, however, doesn't know construction. So the advantage there is they could have conversations with each trade and understand avenues to increase the workforce to the goals that we're reaching. And so that's a strategy that we've implemented for phase 1. It's a strategy that I've seen firsthand increase our numbers to where we're at now. And so we're very proud of the minority workforce, and we're also very proud of the Lowell residents. We understand that the female workforce still is falling low from the goal. However, I don't think it would, and I'm not suggesting this, I don't think it would be good to change the strategy that we have. So, the next steps really is get more trades on board and continue the efforts and see what we could do to continue to get those numbers up. That's frankly what it comes down to. But yeah.
Hey, I'm not suggesting that you change the strategy
Yeah.
at all, but you mentioned that the number of workers on site now is lower than it was before, which I expect was because Phase 1 is just about complete.
Yeah.
And because the demolition is complete. But there will be other phases where I would assume the number of workers on site would be a high amount, right?
It will be. And, just to have an honest dialogue, you look at Phase 1. Phase 1 was a complete project, soup to nuts. And so if our strategy was perfect, and we would be able to hit those numbers across the board because it's all on a percent basis. And so we see all vast different varieties of trades coming in, some that may have traditionally more or less female workers. And so you would want to see those percentages hit. Now that we've gone through Phase 1, we know that our strategy is good for minority workforce and also for the Lowell residents. Now it's time to try to really narrow down or drill down and see if we could promote female workforce even more so than we were able to do for Phase 1.
Okay, so my last question, I think, is how many workers do you expect to be on site during the phase that would have the highest number of workers, and which phase would that be?
Yeah, that would likely be this phase coming up. We saw about 120 workers at its peak for the gym. We may see something around 180, maybe even 200 workers for the freshman academy. But yeah.
Yeah. What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was the question. How many workers we'll see?
Would be about 200.
About 200 workers per day. That is. That's the how we track it.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
And that should be the apex? That should be as high as you get?
Yeah.
I think? Yep, okay.
But again, to go back, because it's on a percent basis, those 200 workers, if we don't have a strategy put in place, well, then we'll have 200 workers that aren't hitting any bit of the goals. So we need to make sure that our strategy promotes on a percent basis. So that 200 workers, we have the correct percent. Female, minority, and then Lowell residents.
Okay.
As well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Excellent. Any other questions, committee members? Mr. Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. On the recycled material, particularly the steel, is it a source of revenue? It's good that we're recycling it.
You mean
Somebody
the
else is
construction
going to-
waste diversion?
Construction waste, I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the incoming steel. Then that is Rex's question.
Somebody else is using it, so we're getting paid for it.
No, so unfortunately not. Competitively bid, they do factor that in. Demo contractors most certainly try to understand what it is that they're taking out, and they want to bake that into their bid. So maybe their competitor isn't, but they are, so they have a cheaper number. So in a sense, we've been able to collect on that when we went out to bid to begin with.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Just a quick question, Robin. The 103 products, is that can you give us a rough idea of how many products total?
No. So we will have some trades. Phase 1 is different than Phase 2. So we actually are having product evaluation done twice because a change in sub will equal a change in product. So at this point, I don't have a quantity of.
Thank you.
But LEED's requirement to get the credit is 20. So we've exceeded it 5 times and continue to receive that. That is a process that we're still receiving more of these documents.
Okay, moving on to the next piece. We're going to head over to the budget summary. We're looking for Jim Dowd from Skanska. I know Jim will be zooming in with us, so hopefully, Jim, let us know if you can hear us.
Good evening, Mr. Manager.
Good evening.
The budget, we've had a lot of progress in the last week in that the GMP has been finalized. That was a 6-month process. The GMP was signed by all parties last week for a total of $305,210,277. That will be submitted to the MSBA in the next week to adjust the budget with the MSBA to have that updated. In monthly progress, last month's invoicing that went to the city today was $4.5 million in invoicing. We are now at 3 change orders in process for a total of $400,000 in change orders to date. Our remaining construction contingency is $20.8 million, and we are processing $950,000 in changes which are being vetted. So all those will not come to fruition, as there's a back and forth process and negotiation with those. And this is the monthly budget consolidated that goes to Mr. Baldwin every month. And as you can see, that reflects the numbers there. 4.5 million invoiced this month with an updated construction contingency of $20.8 million. And as I say every month, the bottom left-hand number, 381,967,000 with change orders, that doesn't change because change orders are included within that. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Dowd. Any questions for Mr. Dowd?
This is Ben.
Mr. O'Para?
Yes. So the change orders are part of the original budget. Is that correct?
Yes, we have 3 contingencies within the original budget to cover change orders. There's $20.8 million, $21 million in owner's contingency. There's $7 million in the construction manager's contingency, and then we have that slide there would be best. And then there is $2 million in owner contingency, which is soft cost contingencies for furniture, overage on any consultants, and other what we call soft costs.
All part of the original?
All part of the original. So we're looking at almost $30 million in contingencies total.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Para. Mr. Baldwin?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Jim, I'm just wondering if for the folks at home and for the members of the committee, if you could maybe, you mentioned the GMP, and if you could just talk a little bit about that, the significance of it, particularly, you know, as it relates to this delivery method versus other types of construction projects, just for the folks at home so they understand. Thank you.
So the GMP is called the Guaranteed Maximum Price. That is the finalized contract with Suffolk, the construction manager. They get hired in this delivery method. They early on in the process, when we were just developing the drawings, they have a fixed fee, and then after the project goes out to bid, it's competitive bid for the trades. We negotiate with them general requirements. Their general conditions are already fixed from when they were hired in contingencies, and then establish a fixed budget with Suffolk for $305,210,000. Now, any monies not used in that budget are returned to the city at the end of the job. Their general conditions are fixed. Their fee is a fixed percentage, but any allowances or contingencies that we track with them monthly that are not used end up as a credit to the owner at the end of the day.
Credit comes at.
Thank you very much,
Sorry.
Mr. Dowd. Seeing any other questions? Mr. Mason, still had a question?
Thank you, Jim. I just wanted to make sure that we understood the change orders. They're 400,000 to date. There's about $1 million in requests, so that's 1.4 million total in change orders?
That is correct.
And does
And that is applied to 21 million overall
Right, so
of the contingency.
I'm trying to figure out the math. Is that roughly 3 or 4%?
Off the top of my head, yes. I'd say we're tracking appropriately, and that is something we keep. Those are the numbers of all these numbers on all these spreadsheets. Those are the ones we keep our eye on the closest, and they are where they should be.
Thank you, Jim.
Excellent. Any other questions in regards to the budget? Any other questions in regards to the budget? Seeing none. Mr. Dowd, next steps, sir.
Next steps, we're moving into, as Rex explained, into phase 2. It was exciting to see the old field house come down, and around Christmas we will be seeing steel going up. So it's a very exciting part of the project, and especially on that Arcan Father Morissette corridor, you're really going to get a look of what it is going to be to the future in the next few months. And as far as on the budget end, the GMP is going into the MSBA. We're also going to have another request for reimbursement going into the MSBA. The MSBA has funded $58 million to date. There'll be another large request going into the next 2 weeks. Everything is proceeding well.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Dowd. Favorite part of the night. Any action items, Mr. Dowd, from your team to our team to see what's going on? Anything that anyone needs to bring up? What needs to happen prior to our next meeting? Looking around to see if anybody has any questions, any concerns, any important dates that we want to make sure we hit?
Don't believe there are any.
Okay. Seeing none on this side. Mr. Elliott.
Could I just ask a question? Of the 97 million, this is back to the budget, of the 97 million that's been invoiced to date, is any part of that been part of a loan order, or is it all bands at this point, Connor? Bond anticipation notes?
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. This over here. Sorry. We have approached this project as we financed it to finance the cash flow as we've gone along. We did a permanent borrowing back in the fall, so to date through FY 2023, we've issued $59.8 million in debt to finance the project. Back in the fall, we were looking ahead to what has transpired since then. There's been a number of rate increases. The Federal Reserve has hiked the rate a few times. And so we wanted to get in to borrow some money in advance of that. And so we did a $21.2 million bond issue in September of 2021. I think we made the right choice at the time. The interest rate in September of 2021 was 2%. I don't think we're going to see rates like that for a very long time. And so it got us ahead to finance a little while longer through the project, but we'll probably be back to the market at the end of the year for a short-term note, and we'll continue as we had previously.
You've answered all of my questions. That was exactly what I was trying to get at. I think it was wise. You've always taken that approach, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gitcha.
Just one drum that I love to beat about the solar panels. I know that you have an RFP on the street, and it includes the high school. Do we know when that would be coming back? And
Council, the RFI did go out, and we've received, I I want to say 2.5 interested parties. Somebody was might have messed up a little bit of it. Ms. Moses over at DPD has been working on it. It's something that we're probably going to be reaching out to our team, Skansker and the folks, to find out how that could happen in the future. But my understanding is, Mr. Dowd, that these the roofs of our future buildings will be ready to go if we were to put solar panels on there. Is that correct, or am I incorrect in stating that? Well, that went, sorry about that. So, okay, we'll have to ask that question. Joe?
So, Mr. Manager, all the new roofs are designed to support solar panels. All the existing are not.
That's what I anticipated the answer to be. So, Counselor, we will look at that. But right now, the RFI that we put out, we did get interest. We may end up having to put out the RFP once we find out where the potential businesses would like to locate. So the answer is yes, just not sure where yet.
I think we're a leap year ahead of where we were. And my other question is just, could you outline for everybody so we're all on the same page, what buildings you mean by new roofs and which ones can be outfitted with it and which ones can't be? So existing versus, that's just for outline for everyone in the audience to understand.
Sure. It's the new gymnasium roof and the new freshman academy, which has enough space to be able to support new solar panels.
Would it also be the fact of the weight at this point in time, or in the future of some of the older buildings, the roof?
The existing structure of the older buildings do not have the structural capacity to be able to support them.
In today's capacity of the solar panels, which are shrinking, Mr. Mason, as we know, in the sense of weight. So,
could I just ask a follow-up question on that?
Sure, please do.
I walked the freshman academy roof some time ago, and it was there's a lot of space there. Has that been studied? Is that deemed not solar compatible because of its structure?
The existing freshman academy?
Yes.
We had not been asked to look at that, so I don't have an answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
It's an older building, and it has to be evaluated based upon current structural codes. So it may, but it may not as well. I don't know at this point.
Once again, I think our hope would be that those are going down by the year as far as the weight goes. So that'd be something that I think would be looking at. Once again, to follow back up with Councilor Gitche was discussing, we'd put something out on the street in regards to the RFI, and we've received some pretty interesting thoughts. Let me just put it that way. Enough for us that we potentially could go for an RFP to see where we would go with this. But this is all good stuff from where we've been previously. Want to look around the room. Any questions, thoughts, concerns, ideas? Something that, once again, we need to have a discussion on, or action items that need to take place before the next meeting? I am seeing no other questions. Senator Kennedy.
Somebody asked me about this. If there were issues as construction goes on at the high school, that there would be a call-in number. Do we have something like that in place? Or I know there was some discussion about that, but I don't know if we did that. So in other words, if some kids came home from the high school and there was like excessive dust one day or a couple of days, what would the parent be able, what recourse would they have? Was there a number where they could call in and make that complaint and where it would be heard, or?
Yeah, if there's a complaint, or if there's any topic to discuss that may start from the school, it would go through the channels within the school. I would assume that would reach Mike Fiato, and then that would go to Jim, then Jim go to myself. That's been the normal means of communication thus far, which, by the way, is something we've been working through, in the past couple months as items do naturally come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just by the way you describe it, you can see that really isn't all that direct, right? Mm-hmm. So it could take a while for that message to get to the. Right?
So no, completely understood. We I think maybe Jim used this example in a past meeting, and just to steal from him, there was a noise complaint that was taking place when we were installing a stair tower on the existing 1980s building. One of our workers was drilling or was fastening the stair tower to the structure itself and was making noise that was excessive. It needed to be shut down. We were able to get a call on that within minutes based on this chain of command or this means of communication. Not as direct, but quick to get to us nonetheless in this example.
Okay.
Rex, if I may jump in also.
Yes, please.
We are in daily communication with Mike Fiato,
Mr. Underwood.
Roxanne Howe, Ricky, Dave Lazinski in the athletic department. They're texting us with issues. They're calling us with issues. We meet with Mike Fiato, Roxanne Howe, Rick Underwood every Tuesday morning at 6:15 to go over operational issues. And every Thursday morning, there's an OAC meeting attended by Roxanne Howe and Ricky Underwood. The communication with the school has been excellent, and as soon as we hear something, we jump on it, and we're in communication with Suffolk.
Okay. It's one constituent made it as a suggestion, but it seems like it would be something that probably a lot of parents at the high school would like to have in place. And so if what we're having works, then that's okay. But if it doesn't, then maybe something like this that would be more direct might be a better way to go. And it would just be for the duration of the construction project, but and maybe you don't get any calls.
Yeah, the discussion has, that you are correct.
Yeah.
That discussion, and Mr. Underwood to my left here has been talking about how the communication had increased. There was an issue, I want to tell you, it was 2.5 months ago maybe, about that time frame. And it, so far, at least from the from the school administration standpoint, this is working, but there's a possibility that if somebody is having an issue, they can always call my office, obviously your office.
Right.
But I've had no other concerns with Mr. Underwood being here and what Mr. Dowd had stated. We had one issue with the real problem with noise, and it went away rather quickly. Okay. But if there are any issues, if there's an idea that the team, Mr. Dowd, if the team has a different idea, that we can put it to an email or immediate discussion, especially when it comes to any type of safety. But I have I have a lot of confidence in the team that's going on since what had happened previously, and we've changed that. So, but if the team has any ideas on this, we can discuss it.
Okay. Did you? Yep.
Mr. Underwood.
Yes. So we meet once a week, but I mean, we have daily discussions really by the hour. So if there's a problem that has something to do with a student that may go home, there's no way for us to find out about it till the next morning, but staff issues that are on the site during the day are handled within the minutes, immediately.
All right.
We really haven't had any problems that we haven't been able to handle fairly quick.
Okay. So as I said, it was one constituent, but my response was that I would bring it up at one of these meetings, and that's what I'm doing. But as long as everybody's aware.
And once again, Senator, if there is an issue, feel free to have them call my office or your office, of course,
okay.
And we can reach out. We've found everything to the lines of communication have been wide open, in my opinion, over the past couple of months here. So thank you to thank you to the team for doing that. Once again, looking to not to rush anything, but to close it out. If anybody has any further questions, thoughts, concerns, action items that we like to talk about, we always like to put those on our last to-do list. I am seeing none, so I would
move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn, Senator Kennedy. Second, Mr. Baldwin. Thank you all very much for your time, and look forward to seeing you. Thank you again to the team for putting this together.
Thank you.
Take care, my friend.